Let's go, Mr. Exarch.
Your absurd
It's farming's time.
here, hatchling.
The appointed time is here. Victory will be ours.
Annihilation. Disintegration. Cleansing. The fires of a thousand suns.
Blocking totem.
That may be, but I am not alone.
I don't like playing from this side of the screen.
Incineration. The fires of a thousand suns.
Not more fires.
Annihilation.
Hell.
Disintegration. Cleansing. The fires of a thousand suns. Annihilation. Disintegration. Incineration. Cleansing. Annihilation.
Get out of here. Oh. Alright. Little T16 Delirious Essence. Not necessary to farm T16 essences, but it's fun. Put totems down, watch things die. It's like pizza totems, but the pizzas are falling from the sky. Should we go with meatball totems then? Meatball totems is better analogy. Outside of very high damage situations and goobers, virtually unkillable. I think technically we built the character in total on 30 divine. Maybe 40. Was not bad. Get all of these little guys out of here together. Come on, you two. Come over here. Get everybody involved. That pulled me away. I was trying to loot. Totems are still nice and passive enough that do other things while just casually dropping them. You do need to drop totems at least once every second, because they have a 5-second cooldown on their attack due to gloves. But that's not too bad. Obviously, in the middle of getting hit by a lot of things like Uber Exarch, or Elder, or Shaper, continuously drop totems and continuously trigger them. They do tons of damage in the. Not the flashiest farmer, but a solid, good farmer that's just going to get you consistent returns, everything. And for the tankiness, like I said, we can grab a bunch of these essence mobs, gather them all together. Come on over. Everyone get in a huddle. Go. You can see your life being supported by Petrified Blood, our passive recovery from leech from damage hits, life recovery, recoup life, and regeneration are more than enough to just straight face tank most of the game. Obviously, Ghosted Rogue Exiles are a different story, but I mean, you're able to face tank most Uber Boss mechanics, every non-Uber Boss mechanic, delve to a very deep depth, and you have the ability to scale the life recoup to over 100% if you wanted to, which would then make you an immortal cycle for as long as something doesn't one-shot you seconds. Nothing can kill you, and your recoup will scale infinitely high based on the amount of damage you're taking. Situations like that are also really good for very, very deep delving. Or very juicy content. All you would do would be to swap out the stasis armor and some additional fizz damage reduction to cover the loss of the Cloak of Flames damage from fire. Things like that would be like the Chaos Belt to convert nearby enemies to fire damage. That would be a good choice. You could run stasis armor with. You have a ton of life, and we're utilizing Petrified Blood. Petrified Blood does a great job at stopping the one-shots. That Remnant Corruption bosses are tanky. Go. Fairly straightforward build. Nothing too complicated about it. Low button, low maintenance. Currently, we are self-cast on flammability. That'll flip over to damage cast while damage taken. Once we level up our cast when damage taken one more time, and we can look at where we're at. I will include in our loadout both an in-game version and the planned out version so that you can see both of them. This was the initial planned out version. This is the in-game version. They're very similar in their tankiness and their damage capabilities. We do have a lot of configs in here because totems don't give you any kind of config information. This is your approximate DPS versus a normal attacking mob and your ability to summon totems. We get from Zenith 150% more damage, from totem AoE overlap. We're overlapping, we have 8 projectiles. We're going to overlap about half of those. So it's, or a little over half of them. So that's 5 overlaps expected, which is 400% more proj damage. We are getting 2.3 totems summoned per cast, so we're spamming out totems. That utilizes the cooldown. Grasping Vines is not taken into account from our natural affinity. We are spam casting it, and so in order to control the cooldown recovery rate, because we're skipping the cooldown recovery rate, we've reduced our skill cooldown to our summon rate, totem placement time. We could go lower, but the next breakpoint is like 0.16, and technically our totem summon time is 0.17. So this is a good estimation of how fast you can cast them, reducing the cooldown of Avenging Flame to your totem summon rate, which is how it works. When you summon your totem, it has no cooldown. When it attacks, it incurs a 5-second cooldown. When you resummon him, no cooldown. Very straightforward. And then we are using the notable Ascendancy Forbidden Flame, Forbidden Flesh, which I picked up for like 50 chaos. No one's using it. Pursuit of Faith allows us to summon more totems. This doesn't do anything special for us because we're limited by how fast the target's attacking anyway, except in some situations where we're getting attacked a lot. But we do have +1 in our max number of summon totems. We also have increased totem duration. Doesn't matter, but totem placement speed is a huge bonus to our damage while we're getting attacked. So that is a very, very good ascendancy node for dirt cheap that no one is utilizing. We're not doing too much. All of our charges are passive. We have full charges all the time, so we don't have to worry about generating them. We are running Sand Stance on our Flesh and Stone, and I mean, our projectiles have a 0 travel distance, but it doesn't matter because we don't have anything that is affected by the travel distance. Now, we're not shocking, we're not freezing, we're not chilling. Enemy is technically scorched. The effect of that scorch would be 10. We could add that config in here. When we block, we scorch. We block all the time until we can't block, and then we gain that block back for not having blocked. That's just the way a Dawnbreaker works. And so we are scorching at a 10% all the time through Dawnbreaker. No other real configs necessary in here, so it's pretty straightforward. As far as the skills go, we are running, let's get this out of here. And out of here. We are running Purity of Elements, Purity of Fire on a Small Enlighten with Petrified Blood and Flesh and Stone. We have one open socket here that could be Arctic Armor. Arctic Armor would be really good. To include Arctic Armor in the build, you would have to have a level 4 Enlighten here. And you would have to have mana reservation efficiency on the affix of the helmet itself. And then you could have Arctic Armor in here. But we're not running it like that. We're just running like this. So you only need 5 on your body armor here. We are running cast when damage taken, Still Skin, Life Tap, and Flammability because we have no mana for regular casting. Vol Righteous Fire for extra damage. Life Tap with Flame Dash here. Shield Charge with Life Tap, Fortify, and faster attacks. Holy Flame Totem. The only reason we have Holy Flame Totem on here is occasionally there's some stupid target that doesn't attack you that you just need to kill it. Like a totem for ritual or a totem in Sanctum or Simulacrum. And so this just allows you to actually do damage because you don't do any damage with Ancestral Bond. We're running Vitality Bound with Arrogance, and on a Rejuvenation totem, bringing Life Tap, multiple totems, and Flamewood. Flamewood is where all of our damage is. When the totem is hit, Flamewood attacks. When Flamewood attacks, it shoots projectiles in the air. We get 4 additional projectiles here. We get 2 additional projectiles from our Ascendancy. Those projectiles land. Everything dies. Really straightforward. On our passive tree, all of this... Let's re-import our guy here. I was playing with a passive tree. That's not exactly what it was. I'll have all this updated in the POB. So, on our passive tree here, we are going to Elemental Overlord. We have a Cluster Jewel that allows us to get Nature's Patience with Natural Affinity. We have Prismatic Heart, Cremator, and Disorienting Display on here. We're getting Fire Mastery for damage against burning enemies. We are getting Life Mastery for no life modifiers on our body armor. We are getting Totem Mastery for 5% of damage taken by your nearest totem. Ancestral Bond for more totems, Reservation Mastery for more elemental resistances. We're getting Elemental Mastery for inversion. We're getting Endurance charges here and another Endurance charge down here. We're getting Devotion. We're getting Armor and Energy Shield Mastery with Sanctum of Thought, along with Armor Mastery down here. This gives us 80% crit reduction. We're getting Totem Mastery down here, summoning an additional totem, which just increases our damage during high attack phases. We've got Cremator and Disorienting Display over here, as well as Prismatic Heart. We have Iron Will for extra damage from our Strength on our spell. We have Constitution for life, obviously life. Life from Juggernaut here, so on and so forth. We are taking Nomadic Teachings, and I've got Corrupted Blood cannot be inflicted on you. If you get a good jewel that has Corrupted Blood immunity, then you can get this passive point back and you can spend it elsewhere. We are running a Lethal Pride right down here that just has 4% increased life, 4% increased life, 4% increased life. Life is good for us, so we get that. Passive tree is pretty straightforward. If you were lower level, you would not have this, and then not have this, and then potentially not have a cluster jewel. I mean, you could get this started at 77. You could get this started at 67. Still be very strong in the build. And of course, you can level with this. It works well just in general mapping, as you saw. The totems tend to take a lot of hits. Monsters will attack them instead of attacking you. You can place them very close to you, and almost every attack has an AoE component to it, which is going to trigger the attack. You can see we also have Dex on the tree here. If you happen to get Dex on a belt or Dex on your boots, you don't need those skill points. You can spend those skill points elsewhere. For our items, we have a Dark Seer. I got one with max energy shield and max life because I was taking advantage of Divine Shield, giving us some additional recovery. If you want a cheap version of this, you can just get the 2 max life per level. This is 1 div, maybe. A Dawnbreaker, Colossal Tower Shield. I spent a div on this. It's relatively good rolls on it. This helmet, I spent a div for the increased life regeneration rate, and then I just life rolled it on my... I chaos rolled this on my bench, and I got life and a small life on it. And so, you know, 1 div, 2 div, 3 div. Cloak of Flames, I spent a div on this because it had the corruptions on it. Black Zenith Gloves, these are like 20 chaos. Buy a bunch of them, corrupt them. You can just go ahead and estimate about 1 to 2 div here. These boots again, I picked up for just 1 div with a fracture on them, and then did a little bit of regular old crafting. I think I did a Hatred Essence until I hit another resistance, and then I beast crafted suffixes cannot be changed, and rerolled life, and then crafted movement on it, and like maybe 2 div in here. The Divines of Destiny was a little bit pricier. I want to say I spent 6 div on this, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 13. I fractured that myself on 2 fracturing orbs. That's 6. Super easy to roll. Call it 18. 20 div for the ring. The Stygian Vice, the base was cheap. I spent a lot rolling for life rolls on Harvest. So 2, 3, 4 div in that maybe. The jewel was like chaos. So your whole set of gear, mid-20s. This Watcher's Eye was a div, and then I re-rolled it with a div. This Cluster Jewel was... These Cluster Jewels are super easy to get. Just re-roll fire on your harvest. They're dirt cheap. This Crimson Jewel was like 100 chaos. Lethal Pride was a div. Natural Affinity was chaos. Rain of Splinters was a div. Forbidden Flame, Forbidden Flesh was chaos. This Cluster Jewel, again, nothing. So about 30 div total in the character. Not an expensive character to build for something that can farm Uber bosses, can do all normal content in the game. And you could gear this up to doing very, very high-end, very strong content just by getting much better versions of everything we have here. If you have any questions over anything, feel free to drop a comment down below or come by channel. I'm happy to answer them. it's an interesting build. It's a self-sufficient, strong, tanky, fast clear. I think you'll enjoy it. It's definitely something out of the ordinary. Jung Rowan and Woolio did a guide on this a year and a half ago or a year ago. Their trees were significantly different because I was working with Polytheist now instead of it was Chieftain and Hierophant before. But this is not a new build. It's been around for a little while and it's kind of tried and true. And if you're looking for something to do with Polytheist, I think you would enjoy this very much. One of my channel viewers, Clyde, actually presented this build as an Ancestral Commander. Ancestral Commander gets endurance charges here, gets free Defiance of Destiny here, gets maximum number of totems here, and damage from hits taken from your nearest totem's life before you here, and Born Under Fire here. And so Ancestral Commander is probably a better version of the build for early, and then Polytheist, on the other hand, gets minimum endurance, frenzy, and power charges, which are really strong. 4% increase regeneration while moving, and immunity to burning, shocking, and chilled ground, as well as immune to hexes and 2 additional spells, fire projectiles. And so on a cheaper budget, Polytheist scales higher in damage and survivability. On a higher budget, then Ancestral Commander may come out ahead in the survivability, but then behind on the damage that can be put out with the Polytheist. So let me know what you think. Thank y'all very much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Peace.